This clip will examine the different types of chemical reactions that take place in our body. A chemical reaction is the process by which a covalent or an ionic bond is formed or broken, and these reactions are symbolized by a chemical equation. The chemical equation typically shows the reactants that are involved in this reaction, typically on the left side, followed by the products that are produced by the chemical reaction. And so chemical reactions that occur in the body are collectively called metabolism. And so now let's go ahead and look at the different types of chemical reactions that occur. And we have three different types. Number one, decomposition. Decomposition reactions are reactions in which a molecule is broken down into smaller units. And so the chemical equation that represents decomposition would be denoted as AB as reactants giving rise to A plus B. So it's the breakdown of a larger molecule into smaller units. One example would be if you eat a potato, the starch in the potato is then broken down into thousands of glucose molecules. And so this is an example of a decomposition reaction. The sum of all decomposition reactions in the body is known as catabolism. And so catabolism is the sum of all decomposition reactions in the body. And so examples of those would be digestion, cell respiration, right, that involve the breakdown of larger molecules into smaller units. And so now let's move on to the second type of chemical reaction that can take place in the body. And these are called the synthesis reactions. Synthesis reactions is pretty much the opposite of a decomposition reaction. So it's when two or more units or molecules are joined to form a larger product. And so we have a chemical equation denoted as A plus B gives rise to AB. And so one example would be the joining of several different amino acids to give you larger proteins. Now, similar to decomposition, we have also the sum of all the synthesis reactions. That is a term known as the opposite of catabolism, and that is anabolism. So anabolism in the body is going to be the sum of all synthesis reactions. And so examples of those would be the production of proteins, fats, glycogen, which is a storage form of glucose in the body. That would be anabolism. And then we have the third type of chemical reaction, and that is known as the exchange reaction. So the exchange reaction, just like the name implies, the partners of the reactants are exchanged amongst one another, so bonds are broken and then reformed. And so the chemical equation that represents an exchange reaction can be something like AB plus CD can give rise to AD plus BC. So you can see here the bond between A and B was broken, bond between C and D was broken, and then new bonds were formed between new partners, AD and BC. And so one example of that would be how stomach acid is neutralized once it reaches the small intestine. And so stomach acid would be HCl. And so it will combine with NaHCO3. And so in this case, let's say sodium is A, bicarbonate is B, H is C, and chlorine is D. So AB plus CD. And now we're going to have some exchange reactions going on to give you sodium chloride plus H2CO3. And so here we have sodium A joined now with chlorine D and combined with C and B, so BC. So this is an example of an exchange reaction. And so these basically are the three types of chemical reactions that can take place in the body: decomposition, synthesis, and exchange reactions.